Hey, what's up guys? In this video we are going to be doing a little bit of sound designing, and I want to kind of delve into why people say that really good EQ is good for sound design. When I described FabFilter Pro Q3, it has the Brickwall high pass and low pass. I said that's good for sound design. I'm going to show you why and how that applies. And, I'm not an expert. This is a new venture I am venturing into. But I know the general theory, so we can kind of go along with and pretend that I know what I'm doing. So I may or may not be working on a project that needs some ambient sounds throughout, and I'm very much inspired by the survival horror of the late 90s, early 2000s. And I'm just fascinated about how they created the atmosphere and those things with, limited, quote unquote, limited technology of the day. And now we have like unlimited technology. And sound design is just one of those crazy things. You could be super minimal about it, like we're about to do, or you can, if you want to have your mind blown, look at how there's a video on how they created the new Godzilla sound, and it's like 100 tracks across a mixing console using the original and like a violin with like oil on a glove and like all these different things all put together to make this huge sound. And if you want to know good sound design, watch that Godzilla, the one with that handsome fellow in it. I forget which version it is. Someone in the comments, please help me. It's filmed in where I used to live in Vancouver. Anyway, let's do some sound design. So a lot of the good sound design uses sounds that you wouldn't think were used. And I'm going to use a good example of that. Got my library up here. I'm not going to be using 101 sound effects. I'm going to be using the MC505 because there's some really interesting sounds in there. Let's get into that. And we're going to be going into the perk MISC. I'm going to try to find a couple that tickle my fancy. I mean, some are like, you're like, what the heck are you doing? These sounds are awful. You'll see. Okay, I want that. So metallic hits are super useful. Like you can have like a piece of sheet metal and you can hit it with something and then slow it down. It sounds like a freaking car got hit by another bus like car thing. Yeah, and then maybe a triangle for fun. Let's just see. All right. That is good for us. So let's start with this one. So, oops, I'm going to turn off that awful metronome. So the tools that they had back then were samplers. And generally, you can change the timbre and the vibe of the entire sound by just pitching it down. So we're going to do that. All right. So we have, a bunch of crazy crap that, if you put into a soundtrack, it fills up the entire frequency spectrum. And I want some ambient sound where it's on the lower spectrum, doesn't take up a whole lot of room, adds to the uneasiness, but yet dialogue or any other kind of things happening can happen, and there's no conflict. But these will kind of be there as, I guess, rhythmic kind of spooky sounds, I guess. So let's get a super duper high quality EQ in there. And we're going to be using FabFilter Pro Q3. And this is the main topic of the video, and that is using these filters like so. And that's well and good. That is a gentle, well, not as gentle as it could be, but a very gentle, I'll go back to it, 12 dB per octave roll off, which is a gentle roll off. But we can go all the way up to Brickwall, like so. We can Brickwall it. And the cool thing about this EQ is it's shockingly transparent. Like once you get into these like hard cuts, things start to sound pretty weird. This does not. All right, so we have control of the whole frequency spectrum, right? And we can go crazy on the opposite end. We can get some kind of mid-low range or like a mid kind of punch sound. And, I don't want to be the guy to just throw some reverb on it, but this is how it'll sound spatially. Right? And humans, okay, so I'm not a scholar on this, and I hope that enough people enjoy hearing me talk. We're human, and we are pattern seeking. And when there's patterns to things that should be random, it hijacks our primitive brain saying, okay, what's making that sound? That is, if it can be put into a pattern, like like footsteps, or a predator in the bushes, like a tiger in the bushes, you can see the pattern of the tiger. It'll make us kind of unsettled. And if there's a repeating kind of pattern or something that doesn't sound quite right, we're not sure if it's a threat or not a threat. And this is what sound design in movies and especially games, this is what they try to achieve. And with the reverb, it adds another element. And we're not sure, we can't spatialize with certain reverb. And where you place it, is it in front of us? Is it behind us? Where is it? And yeah, it kind of tricks our brain. And that's why, certain EQs are good for certain sound design. I'll make this a little bit bigger. But I want to kind of have something on the low end here. All right, so there's that droney bit there. I want this as well. And it's all about layers. And I'm using sounds from, I don't even know how long ago they're from. But yeah, let's just continue on here. All right, so that has a cool, like a kick and then like a percussion-y shaker thing. I'm gonna get rid of that. And again, it's as simple as shaving that out. Right? Just leaving a little bit of it. And let's add some kilohertz in there. Kilohertz. I'm using the transient shaper just to give it a bit more punch. All right, and I'm going to group these because I want them to share the same reverb that I have here. Reverb is an excellent way to gauge if your sound is working or not. It sounds pretty different without reverb. But again, we can do all sorts of stuff. And then with this triangle loop, let's pitch that down. Okay, so that's a bell now, like a Big Ben bell sort of thing, and that could be something interesting to work with the aforementioned EQ of the 3 variety. All right, so we have those little harmonics there. And we can make things sound distant. Yeah, and let's give that its own reverb space as well. All right, and then with Ableton 10, awesome feature, we can group upon group, and then we can adjust everything at once. We'll give it a nice roll off. Just as an example, and this is just with EQ and reverb and pitching and using EQ as a sound design tool. You can do some really cool stuff with EQ. You can make metal sound more metal, like metallic hits. You can make them, you can hover over what I did, and you can find the peaks and then bring those up. And you can accentuate and like unaccentuate sounds. And this is, it depends on the context of what you're doing. But I generally think that making it familiar yet unfamiliar, like there's the concept of the uncanny valley as like a computer generated face. As it becomes more and more real, there's a dip right before it becomes so human-like we can't distinguish, that it becomes creepy. And I think that that applies to sound as well. And, kind of making unnatural, natural sounds, using kind of like real world sounds and then warping and construing and putting them in spaces that don't make sense. I believe that that is the key to unsettling people. And yeah, I got a whole bunch of these kind of things made. I guess you'd call them ambient drones. And yeah, what they do is they they tap into our mind somehow. And I get heavy inspiration from Akira Yamaoka san. And his work on the Silent Hill soundtrack and sounds and just crazy stuff that he was doing is a big inspiration for me. And yeah, I'm trying to do some cool stuff here. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want more of this sort of thing, let me know. And it kind of, this is kind of like dovetails off of my previous video where I made kind of the synthetic rain using white noise. I believe that that is kind of an uncanny valley sort of thing where it sounds like, but it's not quite. What the heck is really going on here? Is this real? Etc., etc. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Take care and have a good one.